It is Wednesday, March 31st, 2021. It is 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and so you know what time it is. It's time for a little bit of coin metal. And it was yet another non-virtual Get Your Ass Kicked at Jiu-Jitsu Wednesday. Actually did some training this week, or this Wednesday. I did not get my ass kicked, although I did not do any sparring, so I didn't kick anyone else's ass either. I'm basically at this point, I'm just trying to get to where I'm doing 4 classes a week, and I think I can manage that this week. So far, I've got two under my belt. Got 2 more to go, at least 2 more. I'm still up in the air as to whether or not I'm going to do Saturday, but I'm definitely going to try and do tomorrow. And if I don't, then I will definitely be doing Saturday. But it's a priority for me to get up to 4 this week. You know, it's, as those of you who listen to the show know, I'm recovering from a little issue. And because of that, I haven't been training, or at least not in the dojo. And I was out for like 3 weeks, and so I'm just kind of creeping back to it. And as far as like what we actually did in session today, it's kind of weird. It was basically a setup for a back take and a pair of chokes, and then from there an escape, and I can't remember the rest of it. I don't know. It was a good class. I mean, all told, I felt like I got a few reps in, and I think, like, conceptually, I had the flow down. But I was still having a couple of mechanical issues where there's one part on it where you sweep your opponent over, and when I was doing that, I was too low on my opponent, and I kept sweeping him all the way over my leg. And the point of it is that you want to keep your leg under them so that you can start for a back take. And if you don't have that hook in it, it's kind of hard to do the back take without flipping them onto one side and then flipping them back over after you've gotten the hook in. Anyway, I was having a lot of trouble with that, and there was one other spot that I was having a little bit of difficulty with, and mostly it's like a berimbolo kind of thing, where you get them on their side, and you get their top leg in a lockdown. And from there, you roll over your shoulder, and so you got to like reach through with the let's see, if you had their right leg locked up, you would have to reach over their back with your right arm and kind of kick them back to get them into a back take position. But yeah, there were a couple of issues that I was having there, and it didn't help that my partner was doing it the same screwed up way I was, and so he just kept screwing up on that same spot until we were corrected. But yeah, it was a productive training session, and I don't know if I'll be doing that particular setup for the back take, but I can see where it's very, very useful. And I don't know, maybe in one of these times when I actually work up the nerve to stay around for a roll or two at least. And that's one thing, is that the guys are actually setting up for doing a competition. So it's like, they actually need a partner that's going to be there in the class with them for the entire class. And so that's really one of the issues that I've been having with regard to doing actual rolls, because like the place that I was training at before, it was class and then it was open mat. And so with that open mat period, I was able to do whatever, do more reps, do a couple rolls, and that, and in the classes themselves, we did a lot more rolling, and I mean, I noticed the difference in how much output I'm actually getting, and so it's a differential in the class format that I'm seeing there. And I don't know if it's better or worse or whatever, but I think eventually with whatever teaching style that you just start getting it. It's like that you've done it like 3,000 or 4,000 times, and then it all of a sudden it makes sense. And I've always felt that way in jiu-jitsu. It's nothing new with no-gi jiu-jitsu. I mean, there's some stuff that is starting to come easier for me, like the different leg locks, or different locking up of the leg. Whether it be a lockdown position or just an X guard or something to that effect. I'm like, that's something that I would occasionally get, even when I was doing gi jiu-jitsu. I would occasionally get somebody in that kind of position. And I did like the technique for today, in that when you do get them in that X guard and you sweep them over, you use their weight to bring yourself up onto them into I would imagine you could probably establish a really, really good side control from that, just like right off the bat. As soon as you roll over their side, you're there. Where you've got your buttock up against their armpit, and so they're not going anywhere that way, and you've got your other arm on their side, or like pinching in on their hip or something like that, and so they're not going to go anywhere that way either. But anyway, let's go ahead and throw down with some music. I gotta get into the shower. I'm still a little stinky from my training session, and I need to get it taken care of. But as far as what we're going to start off with, well, I think we should start with this one. Bum Rush, First Dance, here on Coin Metal. And that was Prong with Revenge, best served cold. And so, as far as what we're going to get into today, got plenty of tabs in the browser. I do actually have some sort of a idea of how I want to conduct this show, or at least what kind of subject matter I want to get into. Not really flying it as much by the seat of my pants as normal. Or I don't know, I didn't do anything really special today to really get ahead of things, so yeah, we're just going to roll with it. I got this one on CoinDesk. Representative Gates of Blockchain Caucus faces investigation for sexual misconduct report. Yeah. And this one is by Sebastian Sinclair and also Nicholas D. So, double penis. And this is authored March 30th, 2021 at 4:04 p.m. PDT. U.S. lawmaker Matt Gaetz, Florida, a member of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus, who has put his name to a handful of pro-blockchain bills and letters, is under investigation by the DOJ, which is looking into whether he had a sexual relationship with a minor. The New York Times reported on Tuesday. Yeah, he was probably having sex with a cryptocurrency miner, not a minor, and they got something wrong. I don't know. Anyway, continuing. According to the report, which cited 3 people briefed on the matter, Gates is also being investigated over whether or not he violated federal sex trafficking laws. He allegedly may have paid for a 17-year-old to travel with him. The investigation is part of an ongoing case against former Seminole County tax collector Joel Greenberg, who became the first Florida official to announce he would accept Bitcoin for tax payments in 2018. Greenberg was arrested last June on sex trafficking and privacy violation charges. Interesting. Gates said on Twitter the allegations are not true, and that he and his family were, quote, victims of an organized criminal extortion involving a former U.S. Department of Justice official. I find that just as believable. Quote, I demand the DOJ immediately release the tapes made at their direction, which implicate their former colleague in crimes against me based on false allegations, he tweeted. You know, and here's the thing that gets me on this. Oh, well, I guess he did. They included the link in the wrong area, according to me. Anyway, continuing. The investigation into the congressman was opened during the final months of the administration of former President Donald Trump by Attorney General William P. Barr. A representative for Gates did not immediately return a request for comment. Gates told the Times he was aware of an investigation, but he indicated he wasn't aware of any wrongdoing. Quote, I only know that it has to do with women. I have a suspicion that someone is trying to recategorize my generosity to ex-girlfriends as something more untoward, he told the Times. Well, you did call them ex-girlfriends, so that doesn't help your situation any. Here we go. I looked it up on Twitter here. Over the past few weeks, my family and I have been victims of an organized criminal extortion involving former DOJ officials seeking $25 million while threatening to smear my name. We have been cooperating with federal authorities in this matter. And that's got 32.8 thousand likes. So, yeah. Matt Gaetz and my father has even been wearing a wire at the FBI's direction to catch these criminals. The planned leak to the FBI tonight was intended to thwart that investigation. No part of the allegations against me are true, and the people pushing these lies are targets of the ongoing extortion investigation. I demand the DOJ immediately release the tapes made at their direction, which implicate their former colleague in crimes against me based on false allegations. Let's see. Exploding Space Pillow Sing MD says, a friendly reminder that Chris Latvala once accused Matt Gaetz of creating, quote, sex games. Chris, quote, and you created a game where members of the Florida House got points for sleeping with aides, interns, lobbyists, and married legislators. Hope DC is treating you well, Congressman. That's interesting. And, let's see, and Matt sort of admitted it, but the human trafficking look of his Cuban, quote, son has got to figure into this thing somewhere. One thing about Florida, no matter what you think the reality is worse, you literally cannot even imagine the real stories down there. Wow. Okay. Big whoop-de-doo. Stories are stories. Give me some proof. Let's see here. And in all honesty, I didn't really want to follow this up with this, but it seems like there's more going on here. Let's see here. I was stationed in Jacksonville. My impression of Florida is that when you're about 10 miles inland from the coastline, you're right in the middle of the world's largest trailer park. Let's see here. So, yeah, I don't know what the deal is with this, but you know, it seems really weird to me that they're being specifically targeted. It seems like, you know, and yeah, anyway. Oh man, somebody accused me of doing coke. That's weird. Alright. And so, anyway, enough of that business. I wanted to touch on it because it seemed kind of interesting that my personal feeling on it is that regardless of what individuals are actually accused of, until it's actually proven in court, it's really not nobody's business. Let's see. What the fuck is this person saying? Oh, okay, never mind. Somebody didn't understand what I was saying there. Anyway, I got this thing here. It's on Blockstream's website. And I have some objections right up front, but I'm not going to get into those until we've actually read this and understand a little bit more about what they're proposing. And this is, it's on Blockstream.com. Expanding participation in Bitcoin mining with the BMN. And this is authored on March 29th, 2021 by Adam Back and Chris Cook. Setting up a Bitcoin mine is no easy task. Aspiring miners face many challenges, including gaining access to low-cost energy sources or creating them yourself, building specialized facilities, procuring ASICs, and ongoing maintenance. Bitcoin mining, or Blockstream mining, eliminated many of these challenges by providing an end-to-end Bitcoin mining co-location service that has helped many institutions get their Bitcoin mines online as quickly and painlessly as possible. And let's right click on that. And today we're taking this one step further with the launch of the Blockstream Mining Note, a security token that expands exposure to Bitcoin mining to even more investors. Bitcoin mining in a tradable token. The BMN provides non-US qualified investors access to hash rate generated at Blockstream's mining facilities. Bitcoin mined by the BMN is held in cold storage before being delivered to the final token holders at the end of its 3-year term. Oh my god. By packaging mining in a tradable token, the BMN allows investors more flexibility than a traditional investment in physical mining infrastructure, and investors can more easily adjust their exposure to Bitcoin mining by trading the BMN on secondary markets, subject to market liquidity. By expanding investor participation in Bitcoin's proof of work, the BMN also strengthens Bitcoin's security and censorship resistance. It's a win-win for investors and the broader network. Gold standard mining facilities. Blockstream's mining facilities are currently located in Georgia, USA, and Quebec, Canada. With our facility's advanced power, cooling, and air filtration infrastructure, live performance reporting, and tight on-site security, Blockstream is the only mining co-location provider that can meet the largest financial institutions' requirements worldwide. In other words, you all suck. Everybody else sucks, and Blockstream is best. Continuing. First tranche on sale from April 7th. The first 12.5 million euros, approximately $15 million tranche, is confirmed to go on sale on April 7th, 2021, with a 36-month term from the commencement of the BMN mining operations. The offering is open to non-U.S. qualified investors with a minimum investment of approximately $200,000 or $240,000. Well, I'm sorry, that's 200,000 euros, so approximately $240,000, or the equivalent in Bitcoin, liquid Bitcoin, or Tether. Oh my god, dude. They're going to create their own fucking Tether out of nothing, okay, and then use that as their payment. And oh yeah, see, we've got $240,000 in there. Continuing. We plan to launch the BMN mining operations by July 9th, 2021. Subsequent tranches are expected to be issued from mid-2021 Q3 on a monthly basis for the following 12 months, for a total of 85 million euros, or approximately $100 million, subject to market pricing. After the initial investment, the BMN will be tradable with other eligible investors down to 0.01 denominations through private OTC. Learn more on Stoker. Our partner Stoker, the EU's pioneering digital investment marketplace for alternative assets, will host the BMN security token offering. To gain access to the BMN security offering and for further regular updates, eligible investors can register on Stoker's site. The information above has been prepared solely for informational purposes only. It is not an offer to buy or sell or a solicitation of an offer to buy or sell any securities. Full terms and conditions are available on Stoker. We will never reach out directly to investors through social media or instant messaging. If you receive any messages from someone claiming to be from Blockstream and offering mining investments, report them to us through the Blockstream Scam DB. So, you know, any lawyer, I think, who's in like digital finance or securities offerings or anything like that would probably be able to tell that on its face this is a blatant attempt to provide a means for the public to invest in the prospect of expanding Blockstream's mining operations. And see, to me, this says a few things. It says that they can kind of foresee the threat to their intended business model, that an increase in participation by additional people will be. You know, that if you are providing more more hash power, the idea of changing things without your desired or expressed interest is a lot lower. And Ethereum's been facing this for quite some time. Pretty much since they began, they've had this issue where the developers want to go in one direction, and the miners, the people who actually provide the network and the capacity for all these wonderbutt transactions and tokens to be stuffed on top of, they like the way that Ethereum operates right now, as is. And rather than focusing on making the network secure, or solely on making the network more secure in a proof-of-work environment, the developers have been focused on trying to force the network to change over to proof of stake. And this is kind of a physical impossibility. You literally have to force the network to recognize another network, or force all of the participants out there to recognize another network as being the valid network, and get them to disassociate from the proof of work network. like I said, I think that's kind of like that whole expectation is a little bit beyond the pale. I don't think it's one of those things that people would actually do in crypto. I think developers think it's possible, which I'm sure it is, and they think that it's desirable, which I don't see that it is. I mean, if you make it an investment of tens of millions of dollars in a mining operation, the last thing you're looking to do is make that worth less. I mean, you did it to make money. You didn't do it to kick yourself off of the network. So, again, it's competing interests. I don't really believe that developers should exist on the network that aren't actually participating in mining. But that's me. I'm one of those old-fashioned people that believes that the only people that have any real say over how a network runs are the people that are running the hardware that are supplying that is the constituents of the network. And see, I think that Blockstream is looking over the horizon, and they're seeing that they can't keep paying everybody that they're currently paying and keep their current their current operations in existence as is, and that they have to expand because there's more people getting online. There's, like I was saying the other day, is fourth generation mining rigs, 4 generations back, have suddenly become profitable to mine with again. And so that's all competition for what Bitcoin is. If at some point or in the future, the people that have adopted the idea of mining and have dug that shit out of their closet and fired it back up again, if at some point in the future Blockstream should want to make some change to Bitcoin, some significant change that the vast majority of the network would find objectionable, they would no longer be in a position where they have enough power over the network to simply just like snap their fingers and say, apply this BIP or you're going to lose money. The rest of the network's not going to recognize your transactions. It's going to be in this format or fuck you. And I mean, that's the kind of position that it seems like this is a move to reinforce. They're hoping that this will generate enough income, just the first tranche, the 29 million or whatever, will be enough for them to afford to set up another mining facility, physical mining facility, or maybe more than one. Fill them up with miners and be putting those miners to enforcing their will on the network. Keeping the network working the way that they want to. And that would consist of running a majority of the network. And they already tell you that they're running a colo service, so you really have no idea what percentage of the network they currently represent. I mean, unless of course you're providing the rest of the hash power yourself, which I think there's enough diversity out there of participants that's not actually the case. But they like I said, they provide a colo service, and so that's for people in America or the Americas who want to point the network in such a way that it appears as though the hash power is coming from somewhere else. Somewhere that doesn't have the same regulatory structure. But anyway, like I started saying, that this on its face, it's all structured to try and narrowly avoid any existing regulatory issues, specifically for the EU. There's probably some place along the lines of this might be a security where it would run afoul of regulators here in the United States. So, yeah, I think this is basically a way for them to afford to set up new mining facilities so that they can occupy more of the network, because I think that they're looking ahead to these several changes that they want to force into Bitcoin, and they're noticing that they're running less and less of the network, And they're looking at it and they're saying, well, gosh, pretty soon we're going to be like Ethereum, where we're going to say stuff and we're going to say, implement our BIPs, goddammit, or you're not going to get paid. But we're only going to be representing about 23% of the network. So actually forcing the rest of the network to implement what we want will be much less likely. And see, what pisses me off about this the most is these are the same assholes that talk about decentralization. I mean, really, what's a greater threat to decentralization? A number of participants throughout China that are mining, individuals, not collectives or groupings or anything like that, but a number of participants in China who are mining, or the same people who are pushing their own agenda on Bitcoin, representing the vast majority of the hash power on the network. Which is a greater centralizing factor? Well, I would say with the first, with Chinese privately owned Chinese miners all over China, that at least retains the openness of the market to decide that it doesn't want to be in China anymore, and it wants to move to like Mongolia or India or France. That somehow or another something regulatory changes or energy-wise changes or production of ASICs changes, something changes in the market that makes it affordable or even profitable for somebody to participate in mining somewhere, and suddenly that all changes. But if we start getting in this circle jerk where Blockstream is issuing their own security and they're in control of the volume of the security, and so if at some time they wanted to print up a bunch of them and sell them into the open market, dump on their users, the people that are stuck into these 3-year contracts. Give me a fucking break. 3-year fucking contract. You're gonna tie up your Bitcoin for 3 years helping these people? But anyway, again, to me it is providing a funding mechanism by which they would assume market dominance on the network itself and be able to retain enough of a market position to where they can dictate to the rest of the network how it will operate, which BIPs it will implement. I swear they're listening to this show right now. They're like, oh my god, he's on to us, oh fuck! But yeah, so, this isn't anything like, to me, this isn't anything illegal, this isn't anything really untoward, except where they're actually trying to skirt the existing regulatory infrastructure with the way that they do things, like offering it to people outside of the U.S. Like, that's going to make any difference. They've got ops in the U.S., so they might as well be offering securities on an American company, and I'm sure there's a ream of securities or security regulation that they would need to go through to make sure that they're in full compliance on that point. But yeah, I don't really see it working out in the long run, because the fact of the matter is there's going to be enough competition in the not so distant future that people will be looking at what it costs to operate on the Bitcoin network, and they will be saying, no, I don't want to spend that much money. It is not worth that much money to me. I mean, even as is, at $60,000, which is a fucking lot. But at $60,000, that's pretty rich. And trying to get people to invest in it by providing a smaller priced security, I think it's kind of shady. Yeah. And the funny part about it to me is that they're having to resort to things like this, and ideas like this are nothing new. I mean, you could look back to like mining contracts back in like 2016, 2017. that maintained GHIO's market dominance for a very, very short period of time. And then they got really, really close to 51%, and everybody just said, whoa, wait a minute, we're going to take our hashing power and we're going to put it on another fucking mining pool because you are too close to being able to dictate to the rest of the network who is going to do what. And we can't have that. You know, I believe that Bitcoin is no better than any other altcoin in this aspect. Meaning that regardless of the fact that it is Bitcoin, the market has a tolerance for how much bullshit and fuckery it will tolerate. And that just because Bitcoin has first mover advantages, it has never been relieved of this issue. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down with some music. But where to go? We played some prong last time around, so we got that covered. Here we go. Lamb of God, Memento Mori, here on Coin Metal. And that was Push Monkey with Spider. I caught something here, and there's just the faintest possibility that it is in fact April Fool's, because although it is marked March 31st, so that kind of lowers the likelihood just a teeny tiny. And it was at 9:22 p.m. Mercury Dime posted, Perth Mint running a fractional reserve might be the powder keg that's needed to wake people up. And apparently John Adams, Adams Economics, or at Adams Economics on Twitter, says, breaking, a very senior insider in the Australian bullion industry has agreed with me this afternoon that the past 2 weeks has been a public relations disaster for the Perth Mint. We both agreed that the Perth Mint could have calmed the commotion by being transparent. The insider confessed that the Perth Mint can't shut me up or be transparent because more than likely the evidence does suggest that the Perth Mint are using lease agreements to run a fractional reserve synthetic program. They can't admit to what is abundantly obvious. Very, very scary. But yeah, the rest of this thread I found really interesting too. Mercury Dime goes on. Small Ting is retweeting my silver cope. TY Small Ting. And then Mercury Dime retweeted Wall Street Silver. Let's see. LOLOL. Perth Mint Chief Executive just called us, quote, keyboard warriors. Sir, this is just the beginning. We will clear the Perth Mint. Let the silver raid begin. And that was approximately 31 minutes ago, I was saying. And Broke Stonker says, damn you saying I should request delivery on my bricks, sir? I said, you might have a better chance of getting your bricks if you add the word, quote, now at the end of whatever demands you make. And Frank Datank says, haha, ring up and arrange pickup, but they can't fly it from OS yet to collect, haha. And then Dr. Jim Pineapple says, April Fool's going big today. Yeah, you know, there is the possibility. I mean, it's probably April 1st somewhere on this planet right now, so there is the possibility that it is somebody's prank, but it's long been known that there's plenty of BS when it comes to the silver market. And specifically because silver has traditionally been considered a bellwether for fiat inflation. Same thing with gold, same thing with oil. That's why, specifically why, there's so much manipulation in those markets and stimulus and all that business, because you can't just let it be. If they just let it be, then it would be completely apparent that they were borrowing us into a fucking hole. And that's one of the reasons why they hate crypto so much, because cryptocurrency being limited in issuance displays this robbery going on. And so anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit more about Blockstream's kind of industrial level venture, or enterprise rather. And I got this thing here, it's on CoinDesk.com. Enterprise blockchain doesn't work because it's about the real world. And that's kind of weird. But we're going to read this take anyway because it's an interesting title. And this is by Martin Glaser. It was authored on March 31st, 2021 at 2 p.m. PDT. Blockchain has come a long way since its 2008 debut as the ingenious technology underlying Bitcoin. Today, companies and governments the world over are exploring new applications in which blockchains track not the flow of digital currency, but things and events in the real world. But this, tethered to reality, is enterprise blockchain's Achilles heel. To see why, let's go back to where it all began. When Bitcoin first appeared, a common reaction was, why would anyone exchange their hard-earned dollars for that? The answer, it's become clear, is that Bitcoin is valuable, and that it is a good reason to own some, or better put, to hold some. How much Bitcoin you and everyone else holds is recorded in the Bitcoin blockchain. Martin Glaser is a philosopher at the University of Hamburg, where he focuses on metaphysics, science, logic, and language, and I think he's kind of off on this. But this is a funny kind of record. Most records memorialize real facts, facts that are independent of the records themselves. Take your birth certificate. It records a real event, your birth, which exists apart from the certificate. This is why it is possible for your birth certificate to be inaccurate. It could simply get the facts wrong about when and where you were born. Bitcoin is different. The blockchain records everyone's Bitcoin holdings, but those holdings are not independent of the blockchain. Quite the opposite. How much Bitcoin you hold depends entirely on what the blockchain says. Philosophers call this kind of dependence metaphysical ground. No. Where he says here, quite the opposite, how much BTC you own depends entirely on what the blockchain says. No, that's not true. It depends on what you can prove. What you can prove. See, if you have the keys, you can prove that you do have ownership of it. Outside of what other people are suggesting the blockchain says. Because I can make the blockchain lie. See, if I sent it from a known address to an unknown address, and then from that unknown address to a different unknown address, but had possession of all three wallets, no one knows it, but I just sent it to myself. I've completely destroyed any kind of path of legitimate path of record, unless of course it could be established at a later date that I owned the other two wallets that it was sent to immediately. But I've destroyed any legitimacy of the record. You know, you could be looking at the record all day long and you'd be, okay, it went from one unknown wallet to another unknown wallet, and the next thing it showed up in Afghanistan. Somebody bought a soda with it. I mean, okay. Well, you have no idea what happened to it in between then. I mean, for all you know, I was using it as collateral for something else. I let somebody else hold it for me and said, hey, as long as you retain ownership of this, I get such and such. And you know, until such date as, you know, I decide to cash out with you at such point, you know, we'll settle what it was actually worth at the time that we did the thing. I'll keep track of my transactions, so on and so forth. You know, so say I spend like $2,000 a month for 2 months and I've given you $15,000 worth of Bitcoin. At the end of the 2 months, you give me my Bitcoin back and I give you $4,000 worth of Bitcoin, or $4,000. I mean, that's entirely possible, and none of it was recorded on the quote unquote blockchain, and so nobody fucking knows about it except for me and the person that was involved in the transaction. That's it. So anyway, continuing on. Calling the blockchain a record of people's Bitcoin holdings is misleading. There are no real facts existing independently of the blockchain about how much Bitcoin everyone holds. Instead, it is better to say that the blockchain just dictates how much Bitcoin everyone holds. What it says goes. And again, this guy's full of shit. Continuing on. This means that the blockchain has a remarkable property. It is guaranteed to be an accurate guide to people's Bitcoin holdings. Since the blockchain dictates how much you hold, it can't fail to be right in what it says about that. You know what? This guy's stuffing his head further and further up his own ass. And I'm not going to stuff your head up his ass. Because, yeah, where he is mistaken here is the way he's phrasing it is that the blockchain dictates to you. No, that's not true at all. The blockchain is like any other database or any other thing like that that's in association with it. It's just a database, more or less, of all the transactions that have happened on the network. Whether or not your identity or any identifying information was ever conveyed or associated with those transactions is another story. And in this way, it can be lied to. This guy mentions the fact that with a birth certificate, there's no absolute guarantee that it is 100% accurate, because the certificate itself is separate from the event of your having been born. It's only an associated piece of data in this case. Well, your Bitcoin transactions and balances are exactly the same. Let me repeat that. Your Bitcoin transactions on the blockchain are exactly the same. There is no absolute identifying who is involved in a transaction, who sent the money, who received the money, what was bought with the money. Unless, of course, there was some other way that the data was associated with the transaction, you know, it was on somebody's fucking database or whatever. You know, that would be the only place that it was recorded, and it would be outside of the quote-unquote blockchain. And so again, you have no guarantee to the accuracy, the absolute accuracy of the information that you're reading on the blockchain, but that's not what this guy is saying. He's phrasing it like the blockchain is some sort of fucking god that tells you what the fuck is up. And that's just not the case. It's not how Bitcoin works. If you have volume X in your wallet, that's what you have. You don't have something worth X, you have X. It is in quote-unquote your wallet. It is in your possession. It is yours. It doesn't belong to anybody else. Nobody can put a lien against it. Nobody can take out a loan against it. It's yours. And this is a reality about cryptocurrencies. The fact that you can own them despite the fact that they are digital, that you individually, personally can own them without the necessity of a third party. It pisses these people off. And this guy's trying to give you a different set of memetics to associate with the ownership principles of Bitcoin. And in essence, he's basically saying that whatever custodian that you do put in charge of your Bitcoin will be the arbiter of what you know to be true. So if they say your funds are no longer good here, your funds are no longer good. If you give them your Bitcoin, it is their Bitcoin now. And you are only negotiating for what price you're going to sell it at. So yeah, this guy's on his ass with his interpretation of what Bitcoin is. He's probably never even read the fucking white paper, because the word blockchain doesn't even appear in it. So yeah. Blah blah blah. Let's see if he says anything. Oh, here we go. Or consider healthcare. We could record on a blockchain that you have been vaccinated against COVID-19. But that doesn't mean that the shot was really gone into your arm. Fucking tells you specifically that an association with quote-unquote blockchain doesn't work on a quote-unquote blockchain. Anyway, yeah. But I don't like the way that he's phrasing it. I don't like his mimetic. And so I don't want to speak in a conversation where I'm utilizing his memes, or his semantics, his terminology, vocabulary, ideology. Anyway, next thing I got here is on decrypt.co. Uniswap trading volume exploded by 450% to $7 billion. Here's why. And this is by Jeff Benson, and it was authored on March 29th, 2021. Trading volume on a decentralized exchange, Uniswap, has jumped by 450% over the last 24 hours. Total volume per statistics on Uniswap.info is $7.17 billion compared to $1.6 billion yesterday. The previous daily record was 2.19 billion on October 26, 2020. The token responsible for most of today's volume is Delta. In the last 24 hours, it's done $6.13 billion in trading, or 85% of the total volume, despite only $16.4 million in liquidity. The new record, alas, won't stand. Uniswap creator Hayden Adams wrote on Twitter that the statistics Delta has accumulated will not count towards the DEX's global volume because of a quirk of Delta's protocol. After that change, real trading volume is at around $1.05 billion, a fairly normal day for Uniswap. Let's see here. So Igor says on Twitter, or Frank Research on Twitter says, record daily trading volumes on Uniswap, but this is not wash trading. This is how Delta Rebase works. Let's see, Hayden Adams says, not wash trading, but not real volume either. Soon will be considered untracked volume on Uniswap.info. Delta may not ring a bell because it's new. Its token, which resides atop the Ethereum blockchain, just launched yesterday. To get it without staking, you have to use Uniswap. Delta calls itself, quote, an on-chain options layer which utilizes a combination of liquidity standards to reduce premiums and offer competitive options prices. More simply, options trading becomes expensive and volatile when there's a lack of liquidity. Delta says it wants to fix this. Its methods for doing so are far from intuitive for new initiates to DeFi, the catch-all phrase for the decentralized financial systems that allow people to trade, earn interest, borrow, and lend cryptocurrencies without using banks or brokers. Essentially, Delta introduces a vesting schedule for liquidity. Quote, when Delta is transferred, a token vesting schedule is activated. The Delta financial team wrote in an explainer on February 9th, quote, 10% of the total token balance is sent to the user, while 90% is initially locked and released linearly over a 2-week period. But the large volumes that Uniswap is seeing are the result of Delta's liquidity rebasing system, an algorithmic way of raising the price to mint tokens over time. The way that system is designed makes it look somewhat like wash trading, swapping tokens back and forth to drive up the volume and price of a token, though it is not because the trading isn't resulting in the transactions canceling each other out. Instead, Delta is toying with Uniswap's liquidity pools to ostensibly keep liquidity solid and make the price less volatile. Delta has not yet responded to Decrypt's request for comment on its protocol. Decentralized exchanges such as Uniswap comprise one corner of the DeFi space. DEXs differ from centralized exchanges such as Coinbase and Binance by eliminating the need for users to give up custody of their tokens. Whereas centralized exchanges store tokens to help facilitate exchanges, decentralized exchanges allow people to trade directly between one another. They also allow just about anyone to start trading their own tokens, even if it throws their numbers off for a day. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, that's interesting. And this seems kind of an addendum to that. And let's follow up with this one. $11 billion in, quote, fake Uniswap volume causes DeFi project and DEX to clash. Someone's figured out how to make number go up. This is by Jeff Benson, and it was authored on March 30th, 2021. A day after helping Uniswap set a new, albeit short-lived and dubious record for daily transaction volume, Delta Financial has done it again, to the chagrin of Uniswap, one of the largest decentralized exchanges in the world. Data is a DeFi protocol for removing volatility from options trading by stabilizing liquidity. An anonymous developer with the core team which built Delta has released a smart contract that allowed nearly $11 billion in trading volume for a single token to be registered over the last 24 hours on Uniswap. That would be a new record, though it's unlikely that it will stand. Uniswap Info, an analytics site, yesterday invalidated Delta volume. Let's see, at OX Revert says, everyone can now create $20 billion worth of volume on a custom token. Attack will continue until Delta trading history is reinstated, and then we get an apology from Uniswap for abusing the centralized power. The developer's move threatens to render Uniswap statistics meaningless in an industry where transparency is a currency, all over a somewhat manufactured debate over decentralization. DeFi refers to decentralized finance protocols that allow people to trade assets, earn interest, borrow funds, and make bets without a bank, broker, or bookie. Uniswap, a key cog in Ethereum's DeFi ecosystem, is one of the largest decentralized exchanges in the world, with over $4 billion in value locked into the protocol in the form of tradable cryptocurrencies. It allows people to swap assets with other people directly without placing their tokens in the custody of a third party, such as centralized crypto exchanges Coinbase and Binance. Up until 2 days ago, when Delta launched on the Ethereum blockchain, Uniswap had never officially done more than $2.2 billion in a day. On October 26, 2020, when Harvest Finance was hacked using flash loans from Uniswap, then yesterday it did $7.17 billion, with $6.13 billion coming from the Delta token. But Uniswap Info, which tracks statistics for the DEX, moved Delta volume to untracked, meaning it would no longer count toward its global volume statistics. The adjusted tally from yesterday was $1.26 billion. The reason for the adjustment and the inflated volume figure has to do with Delta's liquidity rebasing system. The algorithm that helps Delta token minting become more expensive over time interacts directly with Uniswap's liquidity pool, making it appear as though lots of trading is occurring. Delta has not responded to a decrypt request for comment on its rebasing protocol. According to Uniswap creator Hayden Adams, the result is, quote, not wash trading, but not real volume either. Decrypt has reached out to Adams for a comment on how the rebasing protocol interacts with the statistics site. The move to filter out Delta trading caused a self-identified developer at Core, the anonymous project behind Delta, to hack the system and allow anybody to toy with Uniswap.info's stats. Quote, everyone can now create $20 billion in volume on a custom token, tweeted OX Revert today as Uniswap trading volume ballooned well past the $10 billion mark. Quote, attack will continue until Delta trading history is reinstated and we get a sick apology from Uniswap for abusing centralized power. Now a token called You Don't Blacklist Delta.Financial and labeled, quote, an Ian Leafun FAM token accounts for $10.96 billion in trading volume, despite having less than 1 cent in actual liquidity. Ian Leafun may be a sarcastic reference to Uniswap engineer Ian Lapham. Lapham has not responded to a decrypt request for comment. OX Revert said he would open source the contract, allowing others to, quote, create billions of liquidity in stat aggregators. Adams called OX Revert's threat, quote, one of the dumbest things I've ever seen, and defended Uniswap.info's approach. Quote, info is always filtered out fake volumes. He added via tweet, quote, it's sick. It's in bars there's 6 spelled incorrectly, I guess. An analytics interface, not a decentralized protocol. Yeah. It's just a tool. Never mind it's being abused to enrich people unfairly. Never mind. Yeah, really interesting. I don't know what to think of this. I've stayed away from DeFi just because I think that it's one of those things that it edges far enough into activities that are conducted by MSBs that I have a lot of trouble with the idea of them. Now, don't get me wrong. this is not a suggestion that nobody should get in them. Please, it is your money. You do with it as you see fit. Don't let me or anybody else tell you can't either, because there really isn't anything we can do about it. No matter how stupid we may think the investment is, it is still your freedom to be as stupid as you want with your money. But let me see what else I got here. It seemed like I had another one here that I wanted to get into today. No. See, I started a series of tweets, and then I jumped to another one. Here we go. This I find really interesting. There's all these people trying to get around these manufactured problems, and see what I see is that in the longer term, people are going to understand the cost, the undue cost and expense introduced by trying to dictate to the market how it will use these tools. By introducing artificial barriers such as block size limits. Who are you to dictate to the rest of the world how much Bitcoin is going to be transacted over a 10-minute period? Who the fuck are you? Continuing. This one's on Coindesk.com. NFT marketplace OpenSea to add Ethereum Layer 2 protocol for gas-free trading. This is fucking wonderful. This is by Sebastian Sinclair, and it was authored March 31st, 2021 at 7:05 p.m. PDT. So yes, penis. Non-fungible token marketplace OpenSea is planning to integrate an Ethereum scaling solution in a bid to remove costly gas fees, a sticking point for many of the new users rushing into the NFT space. The marketplace says it will be adding support for trading via decentralized protocol Immutable X. OpenSea said Wednesday the technology will provide instant trade confirmation, increased scalability, and zero gas fees. Wonder how they managed that magic. Quote, integrating Immutable X enables us to offer users a gas-free trading experience without sacrificing the security of the Ethereum network, said OpenSea head of product Nate Chastain. Quote, we're rolling this out for future game developers and players on OpenSea who will benefit from this scaling solution. The protocol is capable of processing over 9,000 transactions per second, according to a press release. Quote, we built Immutable X as a ZK rollup in partnership with Starkware, the firm wrote in an October 2020 blog post. ZK rollups are a cryptographic method for verifying and settling transactions en masse. Starkware, one of the leading developers of the technology, recently raised $75 million Series B. In its blog post, Immutable X added, quote, ZK rollups are the only solution above capable of scale without compromise, and they still have the disadvantages in the area of general computation. Those challenges are rapidly being resolved. OpenSea is one of the world's largest NFT marketplaces and has been hitting its stride with the recent hype and demand in everything from tokenized art and music to digital wearables. The platform recently announced a $23 million fundraise by Silicon Valley venture capital firm Andreessen Horowitz in an effort to support its 100x growth in the last 6 months. Quote, OpenSea's support is a massive addition to Immutable X and a step forward for scaling Ethereum NFTs, said Immutable co-founder Robbie Ferguson. Quote, We look forward to supporting their insane exponential growth with our protocol. No, you condemn them to dying under your wing as all of your transactions on your L2 get dusted and your ZK roll-ups roll up. This is so fucking silly. You know, to me, it's another attempt at getting around these artificial limits that are being put on networks like Ethereum and Bitcoin, where they're trying to dictate to the rest of the world, you will only conduct so much transactions on our network. And then it's going to get too expensive, and you're not going to be able to transact on chain anymore. And you know, there have been a number of ideas for how to get around this. You know, going to proof of stake, you know, where you take down the burden of the mining and reduce it down to just needing to be validators and whatnot. We've tried it with Lightning Network, where you get to be the fucking Bitcoin ATM and the Bitcoin bank instead of just being your own bank. You know, we tried all of that. It doesn't work. It just extends the noose a little bit longer. You know, puts a little bit longer fuse on that big old dynamite keg that's going to fucking go off at one point or another, and somebody is going to suffer. It will most likely not be the miners. You know, there have been all these little strategies to make it into the miners' fault. You know, and that little thing that we read by Blockstream is yet another example of people in that position wanting to perpetuate and extend their influence over Bitcoin. And they want you to artificially fund it. You know, and worse yet, they allow for the option of a stablecoin that has never been proven to have existing reserves to cover a 1-to-1 value. Meaning they could have been synthetically created out of nothing, absolutely nothing, with absolutely zero backing. Not people mining it, not people fucking having money in a bank account to back it. Absolutely nothing. Fictitious money. And paying for contracts on their own shit with it. You know, so they can count it on the books, and from all outward appearances, it appears as though they've got hundreds of millions of dollars in outside investment, when in fact they just have volumes of USDT that are themselves non-collateralized. You know, they had just enough Bitcoin applied to them to establish a transaction on the Bitcoin network, establishing that there was some Bitcoin transferred that is in the name of this thing, and that's it. So yeah, back into Trustville. Anyway, let's go ahead and throw back down to some music for just a few here before we clean out for the evening. And yeah, I think these fucking people are high, and so I'm going to dedicate this one to them. Suicidal Tendencies, Trip at the Brain, here on Coin Metal. And that was Meshuggah with Glints Collide. And it is with that I'd like to close out this episode. Thank you very much for listening. I certainly do appreciate the support. We will be back again on Friday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so until then, I want you all to trade safe, do your homework, and watch out for your own bunghole, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And as far as our last dance is concerned, I want to go with this one here. Cowboys from Hell by Pantera, here on Coin Metal. Thank you again for listening, and you all have an excellent evening. Good night.